Hello, Dominic here from the Bournemouth Writing Festival. Welcome to the next episode in our interviews with speakers that are going to be appearing at the festival in Bournemouth Town Centre on the 26th, 27th and 28th of April. Now, we've got over 80 different activities and events happening over those 3 days, including talks, including panels, but also lots of writing activities and things to do, such as writing on the beach, our poetry hub, and we've even got a headshot photograph studio where you can come along, get your professional headshots done, and put it in your social media, in your books, on your website, or whatever you want to do. Now, we've got lots and lots of talks happening at Pavilion Dance, and one of those is with Sam Parks, and her talk is Finding an Outline Structure That Works for You. Now, that's going to be on Sunday, the 28th of April at the Pavilion Dance at 5 o'clock. So Sam has been published by Harper Collins, and her 2 romance books are set in Greece, and she has over 10,000 reviews on Amazon already. So not only does she write, she also critiques manuscripts as well. So welcome, Sam.
Hi, Dominic. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I was an attendee at the festival last year and enjoyed it so much, got so much value from it, and just knew that I wanted to be more involved this year. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm excited to hear about the headshots. I didn't actually know about that until right this second, and I desperately need a new one. So I'll be right in that line with everyone else.
Brilliant. Okay, so as listeners will be able to decipher now that you're from America, from North Carolina, and you moved here down to Bournemouth, which is fantastic. So we have another local author. So Sam, tell us a little bit about your writing journey and your 2 books.
Yeah, absolutely. So I moved to the UK, like you said, in 2015, and I moved here to study creative writing. I've always been a writer. I've always wanted to be a writer, and was really excited to just really try to devote myself to that after a few years in the professional world. And while I was doing my master's degree, I also was interning at Harper Collins. And while I was there, I made a lot of really good relationships and worked really closely with a couple of the editors, and they were looking at my writing, critiquing my writing. And it was through those relationships that I ended up working actually off of not a brief necessarily, not a full brief, but working off of a request for my first book. So I have a really different publishing journey than a lot of authors, in the sense that I didn't, labor over a book for years of my life and then make myself vulnerable, going out to agents, going out to publishers. I was really lucky to have just been in the right place at the right time and have formed those relationships and gotten to show what I was capable of. What I then was able to do was write a book that did sell really well. As you said, I'm really pleased with the reviews that it's received on Amazon, on Goodreads, and was asked to write a sequel to that book. So because the first book did so well, we wrote a sequel to that. So it's The Summer House in Santorini and The Summer Wedding in Santorini. Those books are a duology. And the second book came out on the 2nd of March, 2023. The next book that I'm working on, also with the same list, one more chapter at HarperCollins UK, is a rom-com, and that's going to come out on the 15th of August, 2024. Throughout that time, I continued to work with HarperCollins in both an editorial and marketing capacity, really getting to understand what it is that editors are looking for, what makes editors' lives easier when you're working with repeat authors. And that really helped me in my own career in terms of understanding when we are looking at an idea for the next book, when we are talking about how to approach working on the next book, what is it that they're looking for? Because I was on the other end of that as well. I was kind of on both ends of the equation at the same time, obviously not on the same projects, but it gave me a lot of insight into how that world works and how those relationships should work if they're going to be as productive as possible. And I think that's really helped me out in terms of being able to write to these briefs.
That's fascinating, because you have really got the kind of behind the scenes, I suppose, look on how publishers work, what they're looking for, as you said. And that ties in very nicely with your talk, because your talk is about the structure of books. And, so what can you explain what attendees can expect to learn from your session?
Absolutely. So a lot of writers will be familiar with the concept of plotters versus pantsers. So plotters being people who really like to plan out everything that they're going to write, and pantsers being people who fly by the seat of their pants, right? And it's a spectrum, so people will sit right in the middle or towards one end. Some people are all the way at the plotting end and they love to make a spreadsheet for every single element of their book. And some people are all the way at the pantsing end and they want to just start a page with no idea where they're going, and that is their book. I am the type of person that should be a pantser. I have ADHD and I have a full-time job that is nothing to do with my writing. And I don't like to sort of paint myself into a corner. I don't like to feel like I know where all the puzzle pieces need to go before I get started. It zaps the intellectual curiosity and the creative curiosity out of the experience for me. However, when you are working with a publisher on an idea for something, which for most people will be everything except their debut, you have to learn how to outline in a way that works for you. Because before a publisher is going to sign a contract with you for something, they want to know that they can sell it. And so it's really important to be able to articulate your idea and to articulate how well you understand your idea so that they know both, yes, I can sell this and it has all of the elements that I can market. And also they understand what they want to accomplish well enough that I feel comfortable setting deadlines. Because of those two things, outlines are inevitable. And because I was sort of forced into that from my debut onwards, I had to learn really quickly how to create outline structures that would actually be effective. And I've really learned to love outlining. And I work with a lot of writers in my writing group that I'm a part of that are very much in different places on that spectrum and have experimented with lots of different outlining methodologies. There's so many things out there. There's Save the Cat, there's the hero's journey, there's the 3-act structure, the 4-act structure. You Google how to outline a book, you will get 75 different answers, and probably none of them are exactly right for you. And I've gone on a really difficult journey that has cost me years of my life trying to figure out how to plan books in advance in a way that's going to work for me. And I very much don't believe that I can say, great, I've cracked it. This is the way to outline a book, because every writer is going to be different. Every publisher is going to be different. What I have figured out is how to find the outline structure that works. I've gone through the process a few different times to really hone it myself. And I've discovered what are some of the ways through the process that will allow you to discover as many options as possible without losing the productivity and the creative output. That's actually why you're doing this to begin with. Most people are not doing it so that they can write or so that they can outline. They're doing it so that they can write. And so we want to get you to the writing as quickly and productively as possible. And I've learned how to do that for myself. And now I know from the work that I've done with some people in my writing group that it works for other people as well in terms of finding what works for them. And it allows them to work effectively with their agents, with their publishers, but it also is something that people on all parts of that plotting to pantsing spectrum have learned to love, like myself. And I now love my outlines and I rely on my outlines because they feel like something I've created. I've made the rules for that rather than something I'm bound to out of obligation and a structure that someone else has imposed on me. It's something I've created for myself.
Well, I personally, I'm a plotter. I do have a spreadsheet where I put everything out. But it's so interesting because I never thought about it from seeing it from the publisher's point of view. But yes, you're right. They do have a set way of doing things because they know what sells and they know the structure of the books and everything. And to have that kind of connection between what you're writing, and if for those of you that do want to publish traditionally, you might need to bend a little bit to conform to those rules, and that in turn helps you to get published.
Absolutely. And I don't want people to think that they are going to have to completely change the way that they do things in order to work with a publisher. And that's part of the point here, because actually a publisher doesn't care about every single plot point being laid out perfectly at the point of that initial outline. They care about being able to identify really specific things in order to be able to commit to that project with you. And understanding what those things are is really important to being able to structure that outline in a way that both gives them what they need and gives you what you need to get started without imposing any unwanted structure or any unwanted definitiveness on the story. Because sometimes you have to just start writing before you know everything that's going to happen. I personally am completely incapable of knowing what my emotional arcs are going to look like until I've actually started writing the project. And so I've had to find ways to make sure that the publisher gets what they want, but also I'm able to still take that exploratory approach to my emotional arcs. And so that balance has been really important for me, and it is possible to achieve for each person.
Well, that sounds wonderful. So it sounds like it's going to be a very practical session. And as you said before, you're not going to say, this is the outline structure for you. You have to do this. So what do you want people to do after your talk? How will it improve their writing?
I think it's going to completely transform people's writing, not to sound too extreme, but I think the reason it's going to is, again, like you just said, not because I'm going to hand them something, but because I'm going to give them the tools that they need to find something. And within the session, we're actually going to do some practical work on finding that structure. We're not going to find it all in one session. It's going to take a bit more time than that, but we will start the beginning steps of that journey. And I'll give really practical information for how to carry that on to completion and how to evolve it over time in a way that makes sense for the different projects that you might find yourself working on, because the way that you approach it is going to be different depending on genre, depending on category. So it's important to create something that can be a living, breathing process rather than being the one that's imposing that rigidity on yourself. So I think it's going to change the way that people think about outlining, whether they love outlining and they now are able to think about it through a new lens of how they can make it more productive for their relationship with their agent, with their publisher, or if they are afraid of outlining like I was, and they want to learn how to love outlining and how to create an outline structure that is going to actually work for them.
And just to be clear, whilst this is helping people to write, for a traditional publishing avenue, this is also for self-publishing authors or people that are thinking about self-publishing, because it's about, I suppose, it's not so much what the publisher wants, it's kind of one step further on is what readers are expecting as well. So it kind of ticks the boxes for those that are self-publishing as well as those going down the traditional route.
Absolutely, because as a self-published author, you are not just the author part of that equation, you are then the author and publisher part of that equation. So everything a publisher is doing with your outline in terms of understanding the best ways to market it, the best ways to package it, starting to think about cover and title, starting to think about placements, starting to think about PR opportunities, all of which, you will learn a lot about from other brilliant people at the Writing Festival. But all of those things that you need to do, you can start doing them from the point of having the outline. You don't have to wait until you have everything finished and polished to be thinking about those things. And so, yes, even for self-published authors, it's very important to find an outlining methodology that resonates with you and that really works for you so that you can do that publisher job well for yourself.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today and talking through, bringing to life actually what your session is going to be. So Sam Parks, Finding an Outline Structure That Works for You, is on Sunday, the 28th of April at Pavilion Dance at 5 o'clock. And you can book tickets now, and the booking link is in the comments or in the description of the YouTube video. So thank you so much, Sam, and looking forward to seeing you in April.
Thanks so much, Dominic. I'll see you then.
Take care.